Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here. You know, if humankind were decent, they would come together even at a time in a moment such as this, a very crisis moment. And they would contemplate amongst themselves the value of living in peace, of living prosperous, of living free, of living joyous, of having their dreams come true. They would consider, how could this be? Duchess, come here. This is what humans of character, of distinction would do. How can we achieve these things? Then they would look at those things that are common amongst them, essentials that are common amongst them that must be met above all else. And that begins with those essentials necessary for survival. And they would look at the resources necessary for survival. And they would recognize that for the most part, 90% of the resources necessary would be from an outside source, from a power that you just couldn't put your hands on, you just couldn't identify. So you'd have to say it's an unknown power, or should we say a spiritual power that is responsible for all of at least 90%. Well, all of it, but 90% outside. Now, who would benefit from these resources for survival? Every last one of us. So it would seem to be easily understood that those who benefit from should play a part in the process of manifesting these resources, these goods and services that have been determined. And so those that can, we're not talking about babies and children who don't have the capacity, or elderly ones who are sick and dying, or just too old and weak. No, we're talking about people who are in the life force. You know what I'm talking about. Every last one of them engaged in the process, like going to the military, everybody volunteers. Like going to school, everybody goes to school. Like whatever, it's engaged in the process. But the unique thing of it is identifying that gift that each of us have that gives us our greatest joy. You know, you see it all the time when you see basketball players having a good time and they're talking about having fun and getting paid for it. Well, engineers are the same way. They have a wonderful time. They just don't get a chance to see it on the media, public relations like that, but they do. Teachers, they get the same high. They get the same excitement. Everyone gets the excitement for doing what they do. If it's just digging a ditch, if it's just cleaning a toilet, they want to make sure it's the cleanest toilet, the most melting, refreshing toilet that you can ever put your behind on. Well, see, that's because people do what they want to do. And see, acknowledging how important it is to maintain the peace, the prosperity, the freedom, the joy, and the dreams come true, is you engage yourself in that which gives you your greatest joy. Now, you are not working. No, you are playing. And on top of that, you never have to worry about food, clothing, shelter, any of that. It's in the reservoir of goods and services, there for you to access whatever you need, want, or desire. You never have to worry about education. It's there for you, unlimited and unrestricted. Why? Because it makes you better, that the whole process of humankind can receive the best that can be received. And as far as your health, nobody wants to get sick, and everybody's looking out to make sure we prepare for that. So we have the best healthcare system, and it's there for everyone, everyone, everyone. Now the dreams that we have, our imagination for infrastructure, for transportation, for going out in the space and all those other great ideas we have, they're all there. But none of us are suffering for the resources that are so essential: food, clothing, shelter, education, healthcare, a career, all those other things. It's there for us. Now, I can't find anyone that would argue with that. But reasonable men would sit down and say that. They would conclude that this is a better way of life. They would conclude that lying or that trying to be superior to someone else, exploiting someone else, opening the doors for lying, for cheating, for stealing, for following suit, this philosophy, this system, that system, this language, that language, all of that. And in the process, my friends, it doesn't matter where you're at. It just signifies that all of the systems, the various systems that men can choose to operate from, the applications, the various applications they use to implement their systems. In the final analysis, you find the haves and the have-nots. You have the crime, you have the violence. You have the hatreds and the racism and the bigotry, and you don't know who to follow. You look at history, and you find out, after centuries and centuries of revisionist history, how people rewrite history, and how what you read and being taught about history is not necessarily history, or should I say, it is his story, but it has nothing to do with absolute truth. So we, my friends, are all conformed up in a great big old ball of confusion called, some people say, sin. And we have the pain, we have the suffering everywhere. But even in times like this, reasonable people would sit still for a moment and contemplate, even if alone, that this cannot go on, that something has got to be done. And whether others agree or not is literally important. Yes, if they did, if they applied themselves, we could actually experience here where we are what we say we want and what we hope to die and receive as a reward. We could have it here, guaranteed, at the making of our own hands, by following the spirit of all creation. But rather than that, we'd rather follow those that lie to us and expect us to accept that lie. Even knowing it's a lie, we want to give power to that lie, sticking our heads in the sand and acting like we know better. Watching people murder each other, watching people starve, watching people very chaotic, watching people go through all of the changes of life, hatred and racism and Jim Crow, and want to control who has a baby and who can't have a baby, who can drive a car, who can't, who can comb their hair and who can't comb their hair. Come on now. I mean, come on. Look at man. Look at humankind. What are they doing to you? Come on, people. Do not allow someone to tell you that they heard from God and God told them to do something to hurt you. That is a lie. God is not telling anybody to hurt anyone. God is telling us to love and not to hate. not to kill, but rather continue your heaven, continue your freedom, and your willingness to die before you be caught up in a lie, bought into a lie, giving power to a lie. Those who do this do it out of ignorance. They do it out of ignorance because the few that do stand up, the few that do have the light, are murdered right away. And then you go back to a book that was, should I say, whitewashed, designed to allow the continuation of what happens every day. We can blame our politicians, but you say your politicians represent you. And if they don't, they shouldn't be there if you're exercising the vote. But considering the fact that people get power now, say you don't have a vote, your vote means nothing. It's what they want. Then you should make sure that what they get out of you is nothing until you get what you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I say these things to you because this is my understanding of what the God of my creation is about. I know I wish none of you harm. All I wish for you is the best life that you can possibly have. And if that includes hatred and racism and bigotry, then I'm not for that. But I have to love you in spite of that the same way as I love those who love me. And God will take care of you. And all of the individuals who have played their role in making the earth a better place to be, God is glorified in that. And your individual, personal relationship with God is on you, as long as it doesn't cause us any pain or any suffering. And we have no right and we will not judge you. That is on you and God. I will not be caught up in a trap trying to judge somebody. No, I just want to make sure that you can't judge me by saying I did something to cause you some pain, that I did something to cause you some hurt, that I held back your freedom in your life. Now, as long as I can sing hallelujah about that, as long as I can hold my head up high and look all around me and say I've done all I could and there's no shame in my game, this is what I want you to be able to say too, if you ever can. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.